Today's episode is brought to you by the release of Overwatch.
Drop the beat.
It's Highnoon.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Highnoon Podcast, the competitive Overwatch podcast. I am your host, as always, the Blevins, and with me, again, also as always, Deathblow. What's up, buddy?
Not too much, man. How you doing?
I'm doing really great, man. It's been a little while, but
I got the light on my desk. I've just been playing Overwatch for a week straight, and I don't know. It's the first time I've seen light or talked to another human being in a while. So.
I know. I had to drag you out of the depths of the OW ringer circuit.
Yeah. It's been interesting. I'm back to a free agent again, but I did participate in some tournaments, or one tournament already. So yeah, it was a really good time. We got a win in the Alienware Monthly Melee tournament, which we'll be talking about shortly. And yeah, just been having a ton of fun, man. Like I still, like we were talking about before the show, I don't buy it yet. Nice try, Blizzard. You didn't fool me. You're gonna take it away from me for 3 weeks again coming up pretty soon.
We're just in beta 3 right now.
Yeah, I don't buy it yet. You know, the UI looks too much like the same thing, and I don't trust it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, and we won't spend too much time on this because we've got a lot to talk about today. But when Heroes of the Storm released from like alpha to beta and from beta to release, it was like a huge UI upgrade. Not to say that Overwatch looks bad. Overwatch looks great, but it looked great before, and it still looks similarly great now. So it just doesn't seem, to all the closed beta and open beta players, doesn't really seem like there's anything different. It just seems like we're playing the same thing, which, I mean, I guess we are, but you know.
Yeah, I even looked for like patch notes, the sort of thing, like, hey, closed beta guys, here's what we've changed. Like, I expected some minor balance changes before launch. Nope, they were very happy with where the game was, left it there. And I've got to say, other than Koth, it's in a really good spot right now. So I think it's, it was a good decision. I did expect more UI updates, little things, not big ones, because like you said, the game looks so nice. About 0 were made, I think, though. So
yeah, I don't think there was a whole heck of a lot changed. But let's move on into the housekeeping. All we really have today is this one's been a long time coming. We've got the announcement of our Overwatch Funko Pop giveaway winner. We've got the winner actually going to be chosen right now. I've got the scene set up, and we're going to be giving it away, I believe. Oh, there it is. Okay, so we've got it right here. For transparency's sake and everything else, here we go. Drum roll, please. And the winner is... Winner is drawn, and it is Ethan Tate, Dark Dragon 9900. And Dark Dragon 9900 at hotmail.com. We will be reaching out to you as soon as possible to get you that Funko. And
hide that screen.
Yeah. Oh, that's probably not a good thing.
Yeah. Well, we're doing these on a. Sorry, Ethan. Yeah. We won't include this on YouTube. We'll take it out, or we'll figure out something.
Well, there's really not anything given away. It's just the email address.
Yeah, his email. Yeah, I just don't want to really put that out there.
True.
Well, we'll figure
I'll
out a way.
Edit it out.
Bring the recording down. We won't put that up on YouTube.
Yeah, it'll only be it'll be all good. But thank you for entering, and we will be in touch as soon as possible. But we must move on. The show must go on, and that means that we're going to go into our first regularly scheduled segment in What Did We Do Last Week? Deathblow, we'll start with you, buddy.
Yeah, so, if you were listening in the preseason, you'll know I'm on a bit of a job hunt right now. That did come to a little bit of a head here. I'm getting a lot of interviews now. Things are picking up as far as that goes. But with the game launched, I've just been playing a lot of Overwatch. I put Diablo to rest for hopefully ever.
Yeah, we can only hope, man.
Yeah, I think I've played, Hearthstone once since it came out. Just cleared out my quest quick late at night when nobody was on to play with.
Yeah.
And Yeah, just been playing a ton of Overwatch. Like I said earlier, did the tournament on launch day, so that was Tuesday. It was a whole lot of fun, and yeah, been trying out for some teams and getting everything figured out.
Yeah, that's it's pretty sweet. I have had not as much Overwatch, sadly, not as much Overwatch, but still a decent amount of Overwatch. I've pretty much played as much as I could when I was at my apartment to be able to play. This last weekend, I was in Toronto the entire weekend, so could not play, sadly. But Toronto was great. We might be continuing the story about how Blevins moves to Toronto. Because it's just a sweet city, and I would love to live there.
And me and Blevins would be remiss if we did not mention how awesome Game of Thrones has been.
Yeah, Game of Thrones has been it's been good. It's been entertaining. It's just it just seems like it's a lot of build up and not a lot of punch so far.
If you don't know, you won't know this. Me and Blevins are fighting. I'm mad at him. He's wrong about many things that are Game of Thrones related.
Nothing has happened to anyone of even remote importance.
Just shut your face.
The best thing is I can say these things and you can't say anything because you can't spoil.
I can't. I can't spoil anything, but I don't need to. Just suffice it to say, any chance of a Game of Thrones podcast is out the window.
No, this would be the perfect time
anybody
for
listening right now is also furious with you, Blevins. So don't.
Okay, so
don't act like it's just me here. You're alienating the world.
This isn't a spoiler, folks. So you don't need to turn it off. Game of Thrones is basically just That's So Raven. You heard it here first.
And you're basically Raven. It's That's So Blevins.
It's That's So Blevins.
That's the new name of the segment for what you did this week. I don't even want to be part of the same segment.
It's called That's So Blevins. Yes. The organic. Yes. So that'll about wrap up the new segment called That's So Blevins. We're actually going to move on to a real new segment that we came up with. We're not 100% sure on the name, so if you have any suggestions, please let us know. But tentatively calling it the Listener Lounge, or potentially, what did you guys do this weekend? So, with the release of Overwatch and a lot of other things, we've been getting a little bit of an uptick in popularity. I've got to say, it's pretty sweet. We're up to like over 300 subscribers on iTunes or something.
It's to the RSS feed, and I'm still very new to the analytics for the show.
Yeah.
So but it's a long overdue big thank you. We make a lot of jokes, and we will continue to about how two people watch the show.
Yeah.
And we like to be self-deprecating with our humor, and that won't change. But we are very aware of how many of you guys do watch, download, listen, subscribe, everything, and we can't thank you enough. At least with Blevins, I've never had a podcast this successful, and it's a whole lot of fun to be a part of it. I've watched tournaments and had people be like, "Deathful, I love the show this week," and it's just like, "Oh, I can't spam in here anymore."
Yeah, yeah, you can. I know. I felt the same way. It's like I really want to just go spammerino mode and just be as toxic as possible, but then, like, Hex will on the regular give us shout outs to the podcast, and he's like, "Yeah, Blevins runs the Highnoon podcast." I'm like, I kind of have to not be a complete.
Right. Well, we'll be nice to the idiots complaining about Bastion. I mean,
no, I will not. No. Let's not. I will not be nice to people on the Facebook group. I will not be nice to people on Reddit. I will not be nice to people who complain. I will not be nice to people who complain about Bastion incessantly. And I will not be nice to people who post pictures of cupcakes that their girls made them. I don't care. I've gone on this rant on just about every podcast I've ever done. And this is completely sidebarring.
It's weird you don't want to see pictures of food when you talked about how much you like Instagram.
Okay, it was Pinterest, not Instagram.
Same thing.
B, follow me on Instagram. There's a difference. Okay, there's a difference between pictures of food, which are great because food is great, and pictures of stupid Overwatch themed cupcakes, cakes, desserts, anything. No one cares. They're not that great unless you have like a Cake Boss-esque like giant Soldier 76 cake where like it shoots out little like fondant bullets. I don't care about your stupid cakes with the Overwatch symbol on them. That's not talent. That's not impressive.
Audience, both of you, I'm going to have to ask you a favor. I want to see so many
Oh my
pictures of
God.
cupcakes and
I will.
cakes and Overwatch cookies
I'll ban
sent
all of
at
you.
High
I
Noon
don't know
Podcast and
what
at the
from.
Blevins on Twitter. Please,
It's
please.
the underscore Blevins. I don't. I don't know what I'll ban you from, but I will ban you if you send me pictures.
No, you
of
won't.
cakes.
No, you won't. I will unban you. Email me directly. Find me. You have just as much access to
Oh,
our show and our
God.
content as you want. I will send you personalized private content if you spam Blevins with pics.
What he's saying is he'll send you dick pics.
Not true.
Of course, Elbotron, my greatest unfan, is going to send so many pictures of cupcakes. I don't know if she's my greatest unfan or just your greatest fan.
Well, I might put her on my greatest unfan list as well as my greatest fan list. She's there for my best and my worst moments. Elbotron is the real MVP.
Yeah, she's really never there for my good moments. She's just always just like, man, I really hope Blevins gets hit by a bus after I throw a cupcake at him. But back to the actual segment. We do really appreciate you guys, everyone who subscribed on all the methods, everyone who follows, everyone who listens in every week. We really appreciate it. And now we've gotten a little uptick, and we're actually getting some people reaching out to us, asking us questions like we've been wanting for 22 episodes. We're finally getting people asking us questions and sending us in content. So we're going to start off with a new listener at Over the Bill 1 on Twitter asked, "Can you tell me where to learn /prep/sign up for Overwatch tournaments on Xbox?" And also asked where you can find some more Overwatch content. So to answer the first part, I have not heard anything about Overwatch and Xbox/PS4 in terms of specific sites dedicated to them or tournaments being held in them. I also saw that he asked Gosu Gamers about Xbox tournaments, and they don't know. Nothing has been announced in terms of Xbox tournaments and PS4 tournaments. I would say, hey, if you guys have a community of Xbox players, try to start one yourself. I don't know how the environment in Xbox works. I don't know if it's as seamless as setting up tournaments on PC, but if it is, I would say do it. And if you guys are running an Xbox or PS4 tournament or a non-traditional tournament, let us know. Tweet at us, and we will definitely try to promote it, because a lot of my friends that play Overwatch, they don't have gaming PCs that can run Overwatch, so they're playing on PS4, they're playing on Xbox. Granted, they are filthy casuals, don't get me wrong, but I would rather see them playing the game we know and love so well than not playing at all. So.
Yes. And I can provide a little insight as far as the learning and the prep goes. A subreddit that I've been using to find players to try out and find teams to try out for is /r/Overwatch LFT, stands for looking for team. So check that out. There is constantly Xbox, PS4, and PC players looking to form competitive teams, looking to find just slightly more than casual, play groups, things like that. Really, anybody of any variety can participate there and do some work there. So check that out, and that should hopefully be a pretty good resource for you.
Yeah, and just two off the top of my head, places to find, actually three, I'm going to do a little bit of a plug as well. 3 places to find good Overwatch content. CreationEsports.com. They have Overwatch content there all the time. They also have a link to our podcast, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Second, and this is probably the biggest one, the premier, I would say, name for Overwatch content and tournaments, Gosu Gamers Overwatch website. In terms of finding the results and stuff for tournaments, bar none, best place you can find it. They also have strategy and other articles as well. And also, though a little bit smaller and only one and some change writers writing for Overwatch, if you go to EG Federation, media.egfederation.com, EGF, Electronic Games Federation, is an organization I'm a part of. I write for them. I do some other content for them as well. They have a really great core purpose of getting esports into colleges and universities around the country. So really great organization. Check them out. You can see me right there. I write bi-weekly. I'm going to try to write more and do more content. But as of right now, I'm doing bi-weekly, almost exclusively Overwatch content. So those are some good places to find Overwatch content. So moving on into our same segment, we've got we had an interesting little thing happen. It was all in good fun. We had at Potato Wow on Twitter pointed out how dumb I am for not setting up the YouTube page properly. So thank you, Potato Wow. When I set it up, I haven't used YouTube in a very long time from a content creator standpoint, so they changed it drastically since I used it in like 2010. So I set that up. It should be good now. So check that out, and give us a subscribe on YouTube. It's really going to help us. A little bit of a side note: we are trying to get to 100 YouTube subscribers. I know it'll happen organically, whatnot. But if you guys are listening right now and you like the show and you listen to us on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. Once we get to 100, we can get the /Highnoon podcast specific domain. So then it's not, I don't have to send you to youtube.com/x601F235LNPQ. I can send you to youtube.com/Highnoon podcast. I'd really not like to send you to that randomly generated site, but.
Yeah, and don't try, that wasn't a real URL.
Oh, no, it was.
No,
I'm just making it up. Yeah, don't go to that. And the last thing, and I thought this was fun as well. So at Rho Wow, RHO Wow, pointed out that we have a similar opening to the All Things Azeroth podcast, and I had a little bit of a retort, pointing out that their opening theme song, that is, does not have McCree or Lucio in it. Just saying, and not only that, we also have an awesome outro done by our good friend Adam Hoek. So they really have nothing on us. That's what I've got to say.
Yeah, they are not an Overwatch specific podcast, but like us, they were mindful to use royalty-free music for their intro and outro, things that wouldn't get them in any sort of copyright trouble or anything like that. We're not trying to create problems for ourselves, and clearly neither are they.
Yeah.
So we try not to include anything or use anything that's copyrighted. So that is how that happened.
Yeah. And also, and last thing we'll do for this segment, we had a little bit of a fan submission, not specifically to us, but for Overwatch in general, from Ro. And well, I'll let the clip speak for itself.
What the heck, man? This game is stupid!
This is brutal.
Bastion's damage is just stinking OP! You can't do anything about it! There's no counter!
Brutal used to be a respected member of Blizzard Society until he played the Overwatch beta.
It's just stinking die! You turn the corner, boom, dead! Turn the corner, Gatling gun dead! Turn the corner, hey look, he's a tank! Can't kill him! What the heck, man?
Brutal has been diagnosed with Stage 3 Bastionitis.
And on top of that, it's bad enough when one person plays Bastion. But for the love of God, there's 3 of them! Not 1, not 2, 3! Half of their stinking team is this stupid character that you can't do anything about!
Dying to Bastion is an epidemic facing millions of Overwatch players every day, and no one is immune to the salt and rage that can be induced by seeing a play of the game with Bastion in his fucking turret form.
It's just there! You turn a corner and you're done! You turn a corner, 17 million bullets are then lodged into your skull!
The salt levels brought on by acute Bastionitis can be dangerous to one's mental and physical health. Chances are, someone you know has been hurt by this bird-loving Omnic, but help is available, and there are a variety of methods to protect yourself against Bastion. The best defense is a good offense. As Genji, you can deflect Bastion's fire. As Tracer, you can use your abilities to bypass frontal defenses, then use your gunfire to force Bastion to move. As Widowmaker or Hanzo, snipe Bastion from afar. Have a teammate distract Bastion to give you an opening to do so. A perfect distraction can be Reinhardt, who can draw Bastion's fire and stay protected with his shield while the rest of the team dismantles Bastion. And as Mei, you can create ice walls that block Bastion's fire and allow your team to press forward safely to the next objective. These are just some of the ways that you too can avoid the rage brought on by Bastionitis. To learn more about how you can fight Bastionitis, dial 1-800-F-Bastion.
So that was a nice little clip sent to us by Ro. Wow. Uh, a funny little clip, tongue in cheek, obviously, about Bastion being so annoying. And I really don't want to get into it. People on the Facebook group and on Reddit, ever since the release, the actual release, actually, ever since open beta, this didn't happen back in closed beta. Remember, Jim? This didn't happen. People weren't complaining about Bastion because in closed beta,
they did for a little while.
They did for a little while.
Maybe justified.
Oh yes, okay. It was bad for a while, but they didn't complain because closed beta was more competitive. Was more competitive players who like knew that a character who can't move is not an inherently good one.
Right. Yeah, the thing with Bastion's really just that you have to comp your whole team to it, right? Like there has to be the Reinhardt standing in front. You have to be damage boosted by Mercy, and there's just a lot of different ways. It takes patience, guys. Don't just run at it. Get your picks, shoot down the Reinhardt shield from somewhere where the Bastion can't kill you. Calm down, it'll be okay.
Yeah,
you can make it work.
And this will spawn. I just thought of this. This is going to spawn another impromptu segment called Overwatch 101, where we just take a very quick hit topic or idea to just get better at Overwatch if you're at the lowest of low levels. And one thing, and I'll tell you, I suffer from this as well. Don't go in without your team. Don't go in and try to fight them 1v6. It's not a good idea. Right. If a Bastion kills you, don't go in and try to one-man army to try to go kill that Bastion. Wait for your team.
If your team's going in and one or two of your players die very, very early and you haven't killed anybody on the other team, turn around, run away, get out of there.
Right.
Don't feed ultimates to the other team. Don't go enter into a team fight down 2 players when you have almost 0 chance of success. It's not worth it.
Right. And it kind of, the game itself doesn't lend you, it doesn't point you to staying back and waiting for your team. The game flow, the timer and whatnot kind of makes you want to just go, but it's just bad to go in one at a time. And then, especially in quick match, it sets up where like one person dies and then it will be like a staggered amount of deaths. And then people just keep going in that staggered one at a time, just going in and getting mowed down, particularly by Bastion, because he's just such a bronze basher, if you will, the killer of the pleb, the destroyer of noobs. But really, it's not that hard to counter him, or just he doesn't move, man. He doesn't move. Just remember that Bastion is not moving. You are. You have the ability to move. He doesn't. If
you lost to him, you need to think that you got beat by something that, like, you got outthought by something that can't move. Like, it's just stationary, and you couldn't figure it out. And that's bad. There's some spots where Bastion's viable. I don't want to sit here and say Bastion's never good in comp play. He does see some play. He counters some things. You'll see good teams lose to Bastions at times, but it's probably mostly the play of the supporting cast around him that made it happen. So he might be a problem you need to solve, but he might not be the first problem you need to solve. So figure out how to break the shield, how to pick off the Mercy, how to do the things that limit Bastion to not having the supporting cast that makes him viable and good.
Yeah, so A, Bastion's not that big of a problem. B, don't go in one at a time. That's going to be our first episode of Overwatch 101. So let's move on to one of our regularly scheduled segments of Tournament Talk. And this was a big weekend. This was, I guess technically this was release weekend.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of tournaments. We saw a couple of LANs, which we have not seen yet for obvious reasons. The beta being what it was, but now that the game's out, or at least they say it is, we still believe it's beta 3 right now. They're going to take it away from us for 3 weeks, and then who knows? The game will be officially released in 2020. But we started off big event. This was the NA event, I believe, the Agents Rising event over at what is that place called? Esports Arena, I believe it's called. Esports Arena over in California. Really wish could have made it out. Would have been a sweet time to have, I think, for sure. But we saw that event, and unsurprisingly enough, well, top 4 we saw Cloud9 in the top 4 as well. We saw Clutch, who I don't know if we've seen much of.
Clutch was, and I will get an exact lineup for them, but they were kind of a combination of some teams that existed previously, and like I don't know. I'm gonna get the exact.
Gotcha. So they might be a Frankenstein's monster, if you will, of ringers and former pro and other pros. So we saw Cloud9 Clutch, Team Liquid, obviously an established team, and Gale Force Esports, who again, I don't have we seen them before? I don't know if we've seen them really put up results, if we've seen them at all.
Well, I'm just getting your Clutch lineup here. So some players on it that I definitely know. I've seen before, WGB, Hots for Shots. I don't know that I've seen him in tournaments before. I know he's on my friends list. So I definitely
Name drop
played
central
with him in the past. Hamsword is a player. I can't remember what team he's been on in the past, but
Hamsword is a pretty hard name to forget, for sure.
Right. I've definitely seen it, and I don't know that I've played against him, so it would have been in a tournament setting. And who was the other team we were talking about?
Gale Force Esports.
Yes, Gale Force. That is, let's see, that has Harblue on it, and that's really the one name that stands out to me as somebody I've known. I've scrimmed against him in the past. We've seen him on, I want to say, Luminosity. He started there, so he's definitely an established player himself.
Yeah.
And the team in and of itself, I saw them play a little bit, played well. I just don't know that they've been together quite long enough to hang in there against the Liquids and the Cloud9s of the world.
Right.
But they did ascend above the lower tier of teams that even some of the teams that had more established players on it, but maybe have spent less time working as a team and just kind of said, hey, we're all going to be in California this weekend, so we might as well.
Yeah, you might as well, right? And then we saw that tournament taken down by none other than Cloud9. No real surprise there. One of the best teams, if not the best team in the world right now.
Yeah, and this weekend, I believe, was the first time that group has been in the same room together. So
I would imagine that's the case for a lot of these teams.
Yeah, probably a good number of them. I mean, some of them, like I think Reunited comes from an old an old game background, so they might know each other already, things like that. But and IDDQD, I mean, I know most of their team is Swedish, so those guys probably know each other.
I mean, that is like a whole country, though, right?
It is, but it's a pretty small one. We're Americans, so we don't have to respect the European nations. We're expected not to. So I'll just pretend like they're really small. Well, I'm actually completely ignorant to their size and population. But I got the impression that they were a group that knew each other and came from an old game to continue on in Overwatch. So, but yeah, they played the end of the Alienware Monthly Melee all from the NVIDIA headquarters. And so they were together for the end of that on LAN, and they all did the winner's interview for that. Spoiler alert, I just spoiled that they won the event, but you weren't surprised anyways. And so I think it was really a cool, fun weekend for Overwatch to just watch. The LANs had a lower overall average player quality than we've seen in a lot of especially the end of the closed beta tournaments, where it was invite only and league play style formatting. But again, it's a completely different environment. And how cool is it? Even if you went 0-2 and your first round you got to you just get to walk away from that, be like, oh yeah, I played against Cloud9 in the Overwatch LAN, and that's an awesome experience, something cool to say, and really fun to watch. One of the things that fascinated me watching these LANs was you get to see how they hold their mouse and keyboard.
Yeah.
And it's really different. Like the Quake guys take their keyboard and put it on their lap.
Really?
Yeah, and then play.
That's crazy.
With their mouse basically sideways, so their hands like this.
Yeah. And
they're you need, when you have the lower mouse sensitivity, you need the more mouse real estate. But yeah, they take the keyboard, put it right on their laps. I even think I might have seen a guy that does that for some heroes, and then puts the keyboard back on the table for other heroes.
That's crazy.
So a really, really interesting kind of viewpoint and way to see what these guys are doing, and just a great different perspective. So I had a lot of fun watching these events. Yeah,
and we finally get to see the physical faces of a lot of these pros that we've heard so much about, which is kind of cool. It's also worth noting that this type of tournament might actually be unique in a sense, because depending on how big Overwatch gets, these top tier teams, you know, the Cloud9s, the Liquids of the world, they're not necessarily going to be playing in open tournaments in lands, you know, 1 or 2 years down the line. It might be they're going to be playing in their leagues. They're going to be playing in Korea. They're going to be playing at the, you know, majors, minors, whatever, however Overwatch esports pans out. It's unlikely that they're going to be playing in random pleb. I mean, not to say that this was a pleb tournament, but they're not going to be playing in random open tournaments with a bunch of open level players. They're only going to be playing in invite only leagues, big tournaments where the prize payouts are worth the time to travel. I mean, this was a pretty big prize payout, don't get me wrong. $10,000 total prize pool with 5,000 of it going to first place. Nothing to sneeze at for sure, but you know, we're not going to see this type of big open level tournament, I don't think, going on down the line. I think this is more of a release hype open tournament, and you know, it would be kind of cool to see the Overwatch scene go to a more open tournament style than like a League of Legends or Dota, which is mostly, I believe, private leagues and invite only, and you actually have teams have to buy their spots into leagues and stuff. I heard Raynad talking about how it would cost upwards of $1 million to get a spot in like the League of Legends Championship Series or whatever. Yeah. Like that. I mean, and it's possible we could see Overwatch get to that site. So, you know, we don't know where it's going to be, but it's kind of cool to be able to take your scrub team in California and go play against Cloud9. That'd be kind of cool to do.
Yeah, you know, they didn't play against Cloud9, but there was a team in one of these tournaments, and I can't even remember which one. It was a family. Like, it was 6 people that are all related to each other. Like, dad brought his 6-year-old son to this tournament.
Oh,
and
that's awesome.
He gets play of the game, and he got, like, everybody, the other team voted for him. And, like,
awesome.
So he gets legendary, and then they, like, brought him out a backpack and stuff like that to congratulate him. It was just a
cool.
great, cool moment. It's one of those awesome things. Like, that kid is growing up in a time when esports are a thing, right? Like, to him, somebody wearing a Cloud9 jersey is probably a real celebrity, whereas like me and Blevins grew up in a time where it was looked down on a little bit, not by us, but by the general public, and people didn't quite get it yet, and they weren't on board, and so to us, meeting a pro gamer wouldn't mean as much as it would to a little kid.
Right.
You know, it's, you got to introduce me to a quarterback of a football team, or I don't know, whatever the important positions are, whatever stupid sports you watch. Still mad at you about Game of Thrones. So I'm not going to pretend like I like basketball.
I should have wore my Raptors hat I got in Toronto. The throwback.
I did actually watch Game 6 of the Warriors.
I was like
the
right
last 5
there.
minutes, but that's
I was gonna get tickets, but they were like over $150. So I was like,
really?
I've already seen LeBron James play, so I don't need to see it again.
Gotcha.
I mean, I do want to see it again. I don't need to see it though.
Right. Yeah, not $150, man. But yeah, anyway, so it was just a really, really good time had by all, I think, watching and participating in the LAN tournaments, and it was great to see the production value that goes into it. You know, it's a different style of commentary, even where when everybody's working from home and just meeting on the internet to do these tournaments, you have Hex and ZP forced to do all the talking the entire time. Fill all that dead air, and they do a phenomenal job at it. But in the LAN tournaments, they cut to the analyst desk, and they go from the play-by-play room back to there, and it's very, very different. They have a lot more ability to do things like put up replays in between games. I saw them do picture-in-picture. It was the greatest thing I've ever seen, where they were able to show me the third-person camera without taking away the first-person camera. So,
really?
Yeah, they put both of them on the screen at the same time. So I'm able to see the overall flow of the battle, and if I get confused, I can go back and say, okay, I'm watching the attacking team Zarya's perspective, and get my bearings again for what's going on, because as a spectator and a player, I very much so need the first-person viewpoint to keep track of exactly what's going on.
Yeah, that's amazing. That type of production value and whatnot that goes into these LAN tournaments. And just to kind of keep things moving along, the other LAN tournament we saw was the Take TV Takeover. This was the EU tournament. We've seen this type of tournament for Hearthstone, at least. where it's like we take all the teams, and instead of it being in a big convention center like a Magic tournament where they're all playing and it's just kind of a big open thing and the tournament is the main focus, you go into I believe it's like a studio office or something. I don't really know the exact setup, but you go in, they have everything set up. You go, you play your match, and then when you're done, you basically get to hang out behind in their lounge, or the rec lounge area. There's like a poker table, there's arcades and stuff back there. Again, this is a invite only, but it's just kind of a cool atmosphere. And a lot of the players were talking about how sweet the atmosphere of the Take TV tournament is, where it's like, okay, when you go to one of these big lands for like a Magic tournament, or obviously Magic doesn't do lands, but you go to one of these big tournament halls and whatnot, you play, and then you go walk around at the event center or whatever, and you just kind of like disappear until your match starts again. Here it's like you play your match, and that's the focus for the stream, obviously, but you play your match, and then you get to go hang out with the other teams, which is kind of an interesting thing, because normally it's like, oh no, I want to kill these guys, I don't want to talk to these people, I don't care about these people. But it's like, no, actually, we're creating a community. We're all in this together. We're going to help grow the sport. We're going to help grow the community itself. Play your match, and then we're going to go do cool stuff behind and do interviews and whatnot. It's just a really cool thing. And as for the results of the tournament, we saw the top four: Creation Esports, go Creation, Rogue, Melty, and Graviton. Heard of all of them, except I don't know if we know too much about Graviton. But we saw Mr. Tavik and family take it down in the finals against Creation. Creation put up a really great run. I believe they were the top seed going into it, and I think Rogue pulled off. I think they won 2 series in a row at the end from the losers bracket, actually. I believe, if I remember correctly, but Rogue ended up winning it. Creation, put up a really fantastic run, which is nice to see, because they've been at the top for sure, but they've been kind of middling, in the mid to top tier. But this tournament really showed, while they didn't take it down, they're definitely in the running for being one of the top tier teams for sure.
Yeah, definitely, and definitely on the EU side of things, we're still in a point right now where I don't think anybody can really hold a candle to what Cloud9 is able to do. They've really shown a mastery of what I think it all bases around their double Winston play. I don't think anybody's quite able to do it quite to the level that they are right now, and the way they've been able to coordinate with the added movement, that having those 2 tanks, be a big part has really been a big deal. But Creation really just kind of, in my opinion, spearheaded by the play of Lynx, has just really been a phenomenal EU power player here. And it was really nice to see them. I'm pretty sure I haven't met Omri. Okay, he's the head guy over at Creation. I have talked to him, and on Skype, I think even if it's not now, like it's just a picture of his face was his Skype image, and I'm pretty sure I saw him at the LAN. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure I saw him at a LAN this weekend, so that was really cool. I know he's been a guy that's wanted to be a part of the esports scene for a long time, so I hope he got to have a lot of fun with their team finally, with the game coming out, finally getting the opportunity to go out and travel and do some things. So shout out to those guys. Hopefully they had as much fun as it looked like they were having.
Yeah, super cool event. Really nice to see Creation up there. Really nice to see, I've been a fan of not necessarily Rogue, but, the old IDDQD, which then became Maidong, which then became Rogue, or some amalgamation of that. I've really been following Tavik around, aka Pluppy, since the early days. It's always nice to see him win. I was rooting for Creation. I saw a lot of hype on Twitter for Creation going into it. But if someone else had to win it, I'm glad it was them.
Your Twitch chat army. team
Yes,
from
my,
that
my
team.
Twitch, yeah, my Twitch Jack Cancer Army. Yes.
And to answer your question earlier, you said you didn't know much about the Graviton lineup. It
Yeah.
looks like a combination of some guys we have seen in the past.
Mm.
Crew, I believe, is a Lucio player over there. Zevosai
cool.
is a very, very good Widowmaker. Skipjack, I want to say, is a tank. I could be wrong there, though. I haven't seen these guys a ton. I just know I recognize their names a good amount. And also Nevix as well is a very solid player we've seen in the past. So it'll be interesting and a little difficult to keep track of some of these guys while they sign on orgs and change team names, things like that. But a lot of the similar names, and at least I'm guessing for a little while, maybe the first month or two, pick your favorite players. Don't pick your favorite teams unless they're Cloud9 or Creation or Reunited.
Liquid,
one of these groups.
Envious.
Yes, Envious. So one of these groups that have been together, although they might not even qualify for what I'm about to say, one of these groups have been together as a six for a long time, because those are the ones that are going to stay together. And more teams need to do that. You might not have the most ideal play now, and it might be centered around one position, but it might be worth it to bring that guy up rather than replace him and keep the team cohesion and keep the teamwork together. Because that's what I think is once you get a team up to that, all 6 players are playing at an elite level, that's what it really comes down to.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've seen time and time again that the ability to work together it trumps, potentially raw player skill. When we've seen the transplant of Tavik to other teams that he was either subbing for or he was playing a one shot off of, Tavik will do Tavik things.
Yeah.
But when you have the Cloud9s of the world running their flawless, double Winston play, it's just it's like a whole nother game at that point. But let's move on to the other big tournaments we saw. We mentioned earlier the Alienware Monthly Melee. We saw in the top 4 Cloud9, Envious, Reunited, and Luminosity. We saw that's 4 powerhouse teams right there. And Cloud9 took that one down. That's the one that you actually played in.
Yes.
Have any quick notes about that one? How was the tournament? You said you got a win in the first round, right? So you played 2 rounds. How was the tournament from the player side? How was it run? How did it feel?
Well, it felt fine, and really from the player side of things, and especially from our group, wasn't our first rodeo. We played in some events, so we had people that were familiar with the reporting process, all that stuff. And we weren't on stream. We didn't have to sit and wait. We just played, and okay, the bracket tells us who the other guys is. We'll add one of them and go. So everything was very smooth from our end. We did win in the first round, and then we played in round 2. We went up against Cool Matt's team. Nautilus, I want to say they were going on. In the bracket, they just were the letter N. But they went on. They remained undefeated until they came across Cloud9, which would have been our fate in the 4th round had we been able to pull that out. We were not close. We were destroyed by Nautilus, who is a team that you should watch. Cool Matt, I've talked about him more so early when he was on a set team with an org, and then I don't know if he left that team or how they broke up or what have you, but he's been one of my favorite DPS players and favorite fraggers the entire time, so it was great to play against him. Stream more, Matt. As a side note, but yeah, so then we went on and there was some things I didn't like, but here's the thing about it is like the losers bracket took them way too long to go through. Okay, but the losers bracket stunk. It was not a fun experience. It was best of 1 King of the Hill only.
Really?
Yes. So for our team, for example, and this was the day after the game went live.
Right.
We played 1 Koth match since the game went live again.
Yeah.
We did most of our time, getting our payload strategy down, and it paid off big time for us in the first round. We held very strong. I don't think they finished a map on us, anything like that. It was a really positive experience for us, and I know we knew who we were playing in the second round, but we expected to do better in the losers bracket and just couldn't quite pull it off because you slip up once, right? And like it's just you lose so that hard point, and then the hill is just so steep being down that first point, and we couldn't quite get it together. And I don't even know that the team we lost to was necessarily one that's been together for a while, but just Koth was our weakness, and it was We didn't even get to have any say in which Koth map. Everything was predetermined. So it was a little rough, but at the same time, it being best of one through the first 5 rounds of the losers bracket, it already took them way too long. So they had to do something.
Right.
We knew the rules going in, so it wasn't a problem. We weren't upset about it. We were just kind of disappointed that the way it played out didn't favor us, I guess. So
Gotcha.
but it was good. It was well run, well set up. Scoring system was different. They did a thing where if you finished the map, that was only good for 1 point. Okay, if you finished the map in over 5 minutes, but like under 8, I think it was like 2 points. And then under 5 minutes was 3 points. So it was like a gold, silver, bronze, medal finish. And then when it was best of 3, if you had a 4-point lead after 2, there was no point to play the third because you were mathematically guaranteed the win. So it was actually possible to be done. Like in our first round, we were done before the other team attacked us on the payload. Like we attacked first, set a time that meant they couldn't possibly win. Like you know what I mean? So it was a little different, but I still think they're figuring out how they want to do things. And I know there was a little confusion with the casters, and it made it a little tough to watch, but it was everybody's first time under that rule set.
Right.
So give it some time.
It is nice to see them try out new rule sets because
Yes.
we definitely want to see what works, what doesn't work, and then once we figure out as a community, including Blizzard, what we want to do for competitive, then Blizzard can work on getting it into the game and getting it as seamless as possible. Because right now, even payload is still kind of iffy because there's not a real good clock, there's not a good timer. So that's still kind of one of the biggest, I guess you could even say, monkeys in the room for Overwatch competitive going forward, is that we don't know exactly how it's going to be.
We're not even slated to get competitive put back into the game until late next month.
It's late June.
About a month from now. Well, I mean, I'm guessing, right? Because the game released so late, they're probably not going to do a major content patch inside the first 2 to 3 weeks. So that puts us pretty squarely into the second half of the month. But they did say it should be in next month. So it's not a long breather or cooling off period, but definitely kind of the one area and the only area where I felt like we could have, as a competitive community, done a better job helping Blizzard was like we just kind of stuck to payload because it's what everybody was comfortable with. It's what the teams wanted to do. But like Blizzard was very adamant about, or stopwatch, I should say. Blizzard was very adamant about not wanting to do stopwatch, not thinking that was the best for the esports and the viewing experience. So I felt like it would have been better to experiment more. But all said, everything went very well as far as like balancing heroes and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, except for Bastion, who apparently is OP. But the last tournament that we're going to talk about is the Gosu Gamers Open event. This was kind of a lot of the ragtag leftovers almost. Not to speak down on any of these players necessarily, but we had a lot of these big tournaments going on for the lands, and the people who didn't get to go were left for the Gosu Gamers Open. And in that event, we saw ROP, who I've never heard of, 425, who I've never heard of, Rip Zap, again, never heard of, and OT, still not ringing any bells here. And then we saw 425 win. Though you said that a lot of these teams are just new formations of known players.
Yeah, so what we're looking at here is the finals for the EU bracket.
The EU bracket.
And there was an EU and an NA event, and I will say that the EU bracket had fewer pre-established names in it. I was less familiar with these guys than I was with some of them on the NA side. So with that said, there were some names here that I think are pretty relevant. And from watching the events, if you look at 425, they had Kenzie, who just anchored the DPS on their team, played some phenomenal Tracer on Koth, and really was just all around the player that the other teams always seem to not be able to answer. And then Rubicon, I want to say he was playing primarily on tank. I could be wrong there, but I do remember seeing a lot of nice plays come from him. He might have been like the off-tank flex even. I'm not too sure. The name was on the lips of the casters quite a bit when watching. And let's see, on Rip Zap, Manitins, I'm probably butchering that name. My apologies. Really, really solid Widow play. Just constantly was keeping down the other team's Widows and really seemed to have great positioning in most of the maps that I saw them play. I did not watch the EU bracket super, super closely. It was a smaller tournament. I don't know that they filled their bracket on that side of things. But yeah, the NA side, I think, had the full 64 teams. And let's see, I know you don't readily have the top four available for that, so I'll just give it to you as best I can. It was NG Red, I think that's Northern Gaming Red. They also have a blue team out there somewhere. Zen, and these are, again, team names that we're not going to be very, very familiar with, but players on them we will be. Third place was AF, and Team YDKM. So the team names, again, don't mean too much, but when we look at it, Northern Gaming Red is essentially Grouchy Desperados, who we will recognize.
The Grouchies.
Yes, the grouchiest of Desperados. Sorry.
You have positive win rate again.
I was just going to say, sorry for beating you guys so much in the end of the beta there, as I did run into them quite a bit in competitive and just regular quick play. But Zensity is that Zen team. Blam and Spo are the big headliners there. Also, LOL Beast Mode is another player that I had recognized. Spo, you might recognize that name. He's the one that made that beautiful map callouts.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so he's already done some very positive things for the community.
Nice.
I've scrimmed against him. He was with Hard Blue for a little while, and they beat up on us for 2.5 hours or so. It was a really good time. So thanks for the free lessons, Spo. And the other guys on the team did definitely hold their own. I'm just going to kind of stick to the names that I've recognized on these teams so we can start to place them a little bit. And Assertion failed. It was AF. You Must Hui was a guy that actually filled in and tried out for one of my teams a while back. Very, very good player. I don't remember if he tried out or filled, but Dahoon also on the team, a really, really solid player all around. I believe we've seen him in some events. I don't know how many top fours he snuck into, but they definitely had a very nice performance. Grouchy Desperados, I believe, did have some roster changes, a couple shakeups here and there. Let's see, Team YDKM, though, Zalink, and I think that's fairly. I think they had a player named TYDKM as well.
Of course,
sure, everything is super confusing.
Yeah, why not?
So that was the kind of one that was completely unknown that rose to the top. So that's always worth keeping an eye on. See if that team name repeats itself, and if it does, we're gonna have to pay very close attention to what they're doing, because the teams that come out of these opens are the ones that are going to start to get the invites into the invitationals, and this is where people will break out.
Absolutely. This is definitely the wild west of competitive Overwatch right now. Yeah. Maybe just the Wild West. We've lived, the beta phase was the wild west. Now we're just in the Wild West where everything is starting to get, some things have started to form up, and we've got some pro teams and whatnot, but now it's still a proving ground for a lot of players.
Yeah, it's crazy, but things are tearing off. The elite is going to be traveling on the weekends while the rest of us battle it out in these opens. But Northern Gaming Red, who I do believe won this event, is the Grouchy Desperados team, has Naptime, Mangachu, Bread Expert, and Dump Truck all carrying over. And I believe there are 2 roster changes there. VP Chance, a Canadian player apparently, according to Gosu Gamers, and The Wolf joined that team, and clearly moved right along. And if they didn't win the tournament, they cleared the winners bracket undefeated. So congratulations to them, and a very good and fun tournament to watch there. So make sure you check that out.
Cool. Yeah, so a lot of tournaments going on. Again, guys, we are going to every week we're going to be covering the biggest tournaments that we see. We're probably not going to see LAN events to this caliber every week yet. Hopefully we can start seeing some league play and whatnot coming up. But we're definitely going to be covering the Gosu Opens. I haven't heard word about the King of the Watch, but I will ask the guys over at Creation if that's coming back and in what capacity it's coming back. So if that is coming back, we will be covering that as well. Any tournaments that you guys know about, or that, hey, you're trying to run a tournament or whatnot, let us know. Tweet at us, send us an email, what have you. We'll definitely, at the very least, talk about it for a couple minutes and try to get it some
Speaking of
press.
which, there was one that caught my eye, and actually I had a random group of guys that asked me to participate in this event with them, and I declined to participate because of the busy weekend and everything going on.
Yeah.
And they actually went on a bit of a run and almost made it into the quarterfinals. So
Wow.
I definitely wish I'd cleared my schedule and had some time to do that. But it was called the Mock It Overwatch tourney, and I don't know that this will be weekly. I'd never heard of it before, but they're called Mock It League, and that clearly is Mock It League tournaments.
Yeah.
So if you're a fan of that game, check them out there. I am a big fan of that game as well. They have a Discord channel, everything like that. Seem like a really awesome community and good group of guys. I'm excited to see them continue into Overwatch as they're focusing on my two games right now. I'm not letting go of Rocket League like I did when I I'm staying in it. So yeah, it's great to see, and I wanted to give them a quick shout out as well. If it is a weekly tournament, maybe we'll bump it up and talk about it every week here.
Yeah. So that'll be the tournament talk for this week. Let's move on real quickly. Got a couple of things to talk about in our other scheduled segment, which I don't have the clip ready. Such an amateur. Which means I'm gonna have to do it myself. We talk about, let's break it down.
Pretended like I plugged my ears, even though I just pushed my headphones closer to my ears and made it louder.
Yeah,
but,
terrible.
For the joke.
So real quick, we're not gonna get too deep into it yet. Mercy's back on top. We saw it back in the old days. She was part of the Fantastic Four that we knew so well, and then she kind of fell off for a while, and Lucio kind of took over for pretty much the entirety of it. We always saw Lucio, and we saw Mercy kind of fall back on the back burner. But Death, you were talking about how Mercy is now back pretty much in the mainstream now.
Yeah, really kind of the centerpiece healer that I'm seeing most teams use, and it felt like that watching the tournaments, that there was just always a Mercy, and it felt like the team that got the better reses was the team that was winning more often than not. I don't think anything would have changed if Cloud9 had substituted Adam out for a different Mercy necessarily, one they were comfortable with and had some time spent with and some synergy with, but he really was their MVP this week in that LAN. There were some times, even Cloud9 is going to get wiped on occasion. There were some good teams in that tournament. Outside them, Liquid, with their roster changes, seemed to get a lot better than they were in the beta, things like that. And Adam's reses were just like, 4 people, 5 people, like every 2 minutes, just, oh, hey guys, come back. And it was just, he really set them apart, I think, and really a lot of teams are trying to match that. There's not much more of a worse feeling from a support player's perspective to be trying to keep up with what the other team's doing from their supports when they have a res and you don't. It's just such a high impact play. No matter how much you break it down or pump up the beat on Lucio and press E to boost your healing output, it's just not the same as taking 2 tanks that just died and putting them back at 500 HP. It doesn't quite match up. So even in the spots where you're seeing people go and play the Symmetra for the teleporter on point A on King's Row or what have you, we're seeing them stick with that Mercy, and it's kind of surprising to me, but at the same time not, because a coordinated team knows to die in the same area so that the Mercy can get there, and they play around areas where the Mercy knows where to hide, and it's just such an important character and such a powerful ability on that ultimate. Thank goodness they nerfed it in beta when they did. Because even still, now that everybody's adjusted to that, it really seems like she's back as the number 1 healer, and a little bit of a Fantastic Four developing, I think, in the after beta as well. Kind of set in stone comp I'm seeing includes Reinhardt, Widow, McCree, and Mercy. I think are really in everyone. And the Lucio's almost always there, but sometimes subs out for the Symmetra.
Yeah, I was thinking that the Fantastic Four was going to be Mercy, McCree, McCree. We did
is definitely picking up in popularity.
I'm pretty sure we did see at some point during the weekend 3 McCrees played in competitive.
Yeah, it's not that surprising. Listen, the thing about competitive play right now is it all bases itself around one play, and it's what kind of everybody's running, and what you're generally aiming to do when you initiate a fight, whether it's on offense or defense. And that's you speed burst with Lucio, and then you high noon behind Reinhardt shield. Okay, so what's the other team going to do? They're all going to hide behind their Reinhardt shield. Your Reinhardt then charges their Reinhardt. The shield drops, and your Deadeye's already aimed.
Yeah.
It'll lock on behind the shield. It just won't hit them because it's going to hit the shield first. Right. As soon as that shield comes down, your McCree just hits left click and everybody dies. And that's really kind of the main basis of the play that everybody's using. And it's funny when you see teams go to initiate at the exact same time, because it's just Lucio speed burst and then everybody passes each other and they've like flipped sides. But it's really, so with McCree being such a staple and just being so good at flashbanging over the Reinhardt shield, even when he doesn't have his ultimate, I don't know if there's any amount of delay they could have put after Fan the Hammer that would have made him not playable. As long as that combat roll reloads him and gets him ready to go, he was going to see some play.
Yeah, and then it all gets down to, well, how do you counter this McCree? Well, let's just play a second McCree so we get a second Deadeye. And then it's like, well, how do we counter that? Well, eventually it just leads to six McCrees versus 6 McCrees nonstop forever. And that's really what we've been wanting to.
There's definitely some other ways to go. And I think really right now it's defaulting that way because people don't have such a large group of heroes that they can play at a level they're comfortable with in a tournament. And McCree's one that everybody has to learn. If you want to play DPS, you better know how to play McCree. But once the people figure out, how to play the Genjis effectively, and people are already figuring out how to play the Widows, but I think Widow's a very good counter to McCree. He's got the ability to fight in that scenario, but if the Widow can keep range, obviously she's got a very big advantage there.
Yeah, for sure. And so I think that's what we're going to leave. We're going to leave it at that for Let's Break It Down. We'll be talking more as the weeks develop. I think we're going to start seeing some more innovation and changes as the teams start to ramp up. One last thing, and again, this is another impromptu segment that I literally just thought about from playing over the week. I've got a question, and this is not a tongue-in-cheek question. This is one I want a legitimate answer from the listeners. Either tweet at us your answers or whatnot. So this is the situation. I was playing with some friends, and we queued up, and this has happened a lot in the release. We've queued up against 6 Winstons, 6 Widowmakers, 6 Mays. That's happened a lot. Winston, easy. Just pick one Reaper, you kill the whole team. 6 Widowmakers, you just don't go into the doorway. Just stay. You just stay behind the payload, or you stay behind. You pick one Reinhardt, the whole team's countered. Easy. 6 Mays is just bad. You don't need to do anything particular to kill that. But here's what happened. We got dumpstered, got completely destroyed by 6 Soldier 76. I don't know how to counter it. And Deathblow, if you have one, you can message me off stream to tell me how to counter this. But I want to hear from you guys. What is your best counter as a team comp for 6 Soldier 76 on any game type? We got killed on, I believe it was Ilios. I just didn't know what to do. I was dumbfounded. I didn't have a good counter for it. So tweet at us, email us.
With you. I got dumpstered by 6 Soldier 76.
You might have been on the same team. I don't remember. I think you might have been, but I need to know. So let us know what your suggestions are. Tweet at us at Highnoon Podcast on Twitter. You can tweet at either of us specifically. But that's going to lead into our closing. Deathblow, where can we find you, buddy?
Probably on Twitter and Twitch for the most part is really going to be the best ways. On Twitch, it's at D3ATH_BL0W. And on Twitter, it's exactly the same thing without the underscore. And that's exactly, if you're watching on YouTube, what appears underneath my face right now, D3ATHBL0W.
Yes, and you can always find me at twitch.tv/theblevins. You can also find the show at twitch.tv/theblevins every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern. You can ish. Always got to put that ish in there.
So we got lives. We move it ahead of an hour, behind an hour to suit things we got going on, but
you can always see these changes at Highnoon Podcast on Twitter. I'll also either retweet them or tweet them myself from my personal Twitter, which is at _Blevins. You can always find us on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, and SoundCloud. Almost all of those are at /Highnoon Podcast. We're getting there on Twitter. We need to get to 100 followers, which we're rapidly approaching. So, guys, if you're listening, if you like the YouTube, if you listen to us on YouTube or want to listen to us on YouTube, check us out and
real
us a
fast,
subscribe.
real fast. Please. We need pictures of cupcakes and cookies and cakes at Highnoon Podcast at _Blevins. Tweet them. I will retweet them, favorite them.
I saw
them.
Elbow already sent me pictures.
I will subscribe to your YouTube channel. I will do anything and everything I can to make Blevins regret his rant.
Nope. I will fight for it to the death. I don't care.
Find me on Twitter or Twitch. If he bans you from our Twitter, I will undo it. I have just as much admin powers as he does on those things.
Also, guys, please check out Creation Esports at Creation Esports on Twitter, creationesports.com. Check out Matcherino. Huge help to the community, huge help to us. I believe they're at Matcherino _ on Twitter. There's some weird thing on Twitter, but if you search Matcherino, you'll find them. You can also check out Matcherino.com for supporting your favorite tournaments on Twitch, Overwatch or otherwise.
And you nailed it with the underscore, by the way.
Oh, I'm so smart. And by that, I mean I have a memory that serves us. You can also, if you're into that old traditional type stuff, send us an email, highnoonpodcast@gmail.com. Remember to send us the answer to your to our weekly question, which I just made up on the spot, of how do you beat 6 Soldier 76s, because I legitimately want the answer to that.
Yeah, if we get a couple answers, we'll talk about. So, me and Blevins will find the ones we like the best, and maybe even try them out if you give us enough notice.
Yeah,
I'll find 6 people to play 6 Soldier 76s against Blevins.
I definitely will as well. Anything, and guys, any questions or anything you have, we now have an official segment for it on the show. We will talk about your questions, anything you send us, content-wise. If it's video, music, pictures, whatever, as long as it's related to Overwatch or us in some way, or you can at least argue that it is in some way, we will talk about it for sure. But the last thing, guys, I want you to know, just one last thing, is that it's Highnoon.
Got his boots and he put on his hat. Threw the coin away that same day. It's in his past and he's not looking back. He says, finding mine now, God's my way. He's not good, but he sure ain't bad. He'll make amends for the sins that he has. He says, I'll change